Yo, welcome back to the Culture and Cannabis podcast. I am your host, Full-Time Tony, here with my co-host, JC Coates. JC, how we doing, brother?
Amazing, bro. Amazing. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm so happy to be back. We got a really amazing podcast today.
Yes.
We have some great guests. JC, who we got?
We have the Beer Bros in the flesh here, courtesy of the Chamber of Cannabis.
Yeah, Bill and Jeff are in the building with us. Thank you guys so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Thank you to Tina and Danny for getting them here. Man, this is an exciting podcast.
Well, these guys are legendary, right?
Legendary.
This is coming from the legacy market through, all the changes which happened in California. Basically, probably, you guys used to hide, growing the weed, and now we're out here on the forefront, man. It's been an incredible journey to watch you guys.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you guys having us, and Chamber of Cannabis for having us out as well. I appreciate that. We're again, like you said, we're a couple of cultivators who used to hide, so the attention is humbling, but we're happy with it.
Yes.
Okay, so I have the most important question for the podcast.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Because
are you guys actually brothers?
We are. It's kind of funny. The opinions run the gamut from we aren't brothers to we look like twins, which I know Bill loves that latter one because he's 6 years older, so it always gives him a little ego bump.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So you're the older brother.
Yes.
nice.
So when you guys scrapped, who was winning these fights?
Well, with 6 years older, when we were younger, it was certainly me because he was a lot smaller. And actually, we didn't really scrap that much because we did younger. But once we got into teens, I moved out when he was 12 or 13.
Got it.
So we didn't scrap too much like that.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, it's interesting, right? Because what you guys have created, of course, but it's like you guys are basically a family business, right? Would you say?
Yes, we are.
So can you guys kind of talk to us about the dynamics of your family business and maybe some of the pros and cons of having a family business?
Well, it's actually a multi-generational family business. We have Bill's son working with us as well. It definitely presents some unique challenges, but I think it also provides a support system you don't get from any other type of a partnership.
Yeah.
When you're working with blood, they have your back pretty much no matter what.
Yeah, interesting. How about for you?
Yeah, same thing with me. Partners are partners, but when your partner's your brother, there's just more to it. There's a lot more. It's easier to trust because it's just somebody you spent your entire life with.
So are you guys more like partners, or is one of you guys like the boss, or how does that? You guys work together in tandem?
Absolute partners. 50-50. We spread the load out evenly, and business-wise, 50-50 as well.
So you guys fight over the cannabis? You love each other over the cannabis, all that stuff?
It's a love-hate relationship, much like the cannabis industry.
Yes, absolutely.
No one ever mistakes me and JC for being brothers because everyone just thinks he's my father. But we fight I fight with him like he's my older brother, so I can probably understand the relationship that you guys have.
Absolutely.
So you guys are initially from Pennsylvania, right? And then you from Pennsylvania moved to Florida.
Yes.
When did you guys get into cannabis?
Consuming young teens, cultivating later teens, commercial cultivating. I say commercial, but it was still the traditional market in Florida in 1990. But that's when I started getting into building hydroponic systems and things like that. So a long time. We've been in cannabis a long time. The industry itself, we moved out west in 2010 from Florida.
Got it. And the reason why I bring that up is because Florida is well known as during the Reagan drug. Well, what was the term called?
The DARE days.
Yeah, where they a lot of people were moving. Yeah, we're moving not only cocaine but a lot of weed through South Florida.
The Just Say No campaign.
Yeah, the Just Say No campaign. Yeah, so I as a teenager growing up there, I'm guessing it must have been wild as far as weed.
It was. I'm gonna let Jeff go to that one.
Well, I would say it absolutely was. Bill definitely has more of the cultivation background, and we kind of joke about it now with the way California has kind of structured and other states structured the vertical integration, that we were vertically integrated all the way back then because Bill did most of the cultivation. I went to college at University of Florida, so I was doing the distribution side of things, picking it up from him. We also had friends down in South Florida that we were getting the old South Florida Crippy that you could get. We had friends in Kentucky, Tennessee that we were getting good homegrown from there. So yeah, there was a lot going on back in those days in Florida.
Man, go Gators! That's crazy. So then you said 2010 you moved over to California.
Technically, we were in Denver, Boulder, for 1 year before. So in 2010 into 11, we were in Colorado. They changed the laws there, so we couldn't cultivate and just take it to dispensaries and produce it as a caregiver product. Mm-hmm. So that's what that facilitated the move to LA, because it was the only place at the time, and it really was one of the last places where you could go in and start a collective model and get patients, and then cultivate and service those patients.
Were you guys in any other industry before cannabis, or you guys have pretty much been doing cannabis your whole life?
No, I have my plant background goes all the way back to I was working in greenhouses when I was 15 years old in New Jersey, to owning my own landscape company in Florida for 10 years, and we've been in a few other businesses, but it hasn't always been cannabis. But the last dedicated 12 years has been cannabis.
What about you?
Yeah, mine was, I went the college route, which he didn't. And coming out of college, I had a job working on the LPGA golf tour for 2 years, traveling around the country, and got to Korea and Japan for a couple of trips as well.
That's dope.
Company that did all the scoring networks on course and then all the real-time scoring updates out to the internet back in 2003 to 2005. And after that, like you said, a couple of different businesses in Florida related around the housing market. So when the housing market was booming in the early 2000s, it was good. And then by 08, 9, 10 is when everything kind of went to shit there. And we recognized both the lessening opportunity there and the West Coast opportunity for cannabis. And as he said, we just weren't looking to go to jail for 20 plus years for a very small grow. And look to move west.
And so you guys make it to California, and so do you guys start growing for other people, or you always been growing for your guys yourself?
No, began cultivating for ourselves.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. In that time in California, and this is I miss this era because it's long gone. For $5,000, you could set up a nonprofit. You would be a co-op or a collective, and every patient would allow you to grow 6 plants. So once you got to 100 patients, you could grow 600 plants, and the state would come in and go, "Oh, where's your patient? Okay, you got 100 patients. I see 600 plants. You're good to go." You could also start deliveries, which we did as well. So we were vertically integrated then. So cultivation and then delivery, direct to consumer, before people were really talking about it.
And you guys did that, like, grew that until about 2018, roughly. And then what happened in 2018? Kind of made the change.
Well, it was California going from the medical program, the SB 420 model, to Prop 64, which is the adult use model, and adding in a lot of regulations, a lot of taxes, a lot of barriers to entry, and a lot of levels that didn't exist beforehand when the industry ran a lot smoother, and it kind of self-policed itself.
So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, so like that was a big blow for you guys, right? So that was like a huge, like, kind of smack, right? And it's just like you had to ask yourself, like, is it worth it to go forward, right? Did you guys ever have that moment?
We still have that moment, but the reality of it is worth it. Yeah, it was really a blow, and for us in particular, obviously, from SB 420 to Prop 64 adult use. The regulation doubled, quadrupled, even more. The barriers to entry raised up. It wasn't bad. I mean, it was bad for California as a whole, but it wasn't as bad outside of Los Angeles. Our particular situation was in Los Angeles. They had a list, what they called a pre ICO and Measure M's, and those were the 185 people that ran retails in Los Angeles County that they considered legal. Now, if you lived there, you knew that between 2010 and 2018, there was probably 1,500, maybe 2,000 dispensaries in Los Angeles alone. Mm-hmm. So what happened was many people who had been following state laws for 10 years and paying taxes to the state became illegal from December 31st of 17 till January 1st of 18, one night.
And what happened to most of those people?
You know, they're mostly gone, or they're in a position where they're still working with the legacy market. Yeah. There's still a ton of sessions that go on in LA itself. You know, people
still had to feed their families.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't stop feeding your family from one day to the next, and we completely sympathize with that because we were illegal. Yeah, on Januuary 1st.
I always did too. Like, I've known people that they fed their family from the sessions. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, how can you?
We built our name on the sessions in LA. That's how we built Beer Bros.
And then I mean, why do you think you guys were able to kind of like get on the other side of this? What kind of like characteristics that you guys have that have kind of got you to where you're at now, as opposed to some of the people that just kind of have stayed in the sessions?
Well, I think we saw what was coming, and we knew that while we didn't necessarily agree with it, we were going to have to operate within it. So we started looking ourselves into how do we navigate through this. It led to other cultivators asking us questions or seeing us talk about it and realizing, there's a lot of other people trying to figure out the same answers we're trying to figure out, and there doesn't seem to be any cohesive place for them to go to for this. And that's what kind of spawned our pivot over to the media side of things. In 2016, 17, we started aggregating articles from other places, basically vetting it. We would read it, If it was clickbait, it went off to the side and it didn't go through to anybody. And if it was something that we knew was germane to one aspect of the industry and people needed to know more about it, we would put that out and we'd give our little take, our slant on it as to, hey, this is what you need to pay attention to. Be prepared for this. Even if you don't like it, this is what you're going to need to operate within. So it kind of spawned from that, and that allowed us to maintain a relevancy both in California, but what it really did was spawned our brand name beyond the state border. It was more powerful than a product because that could only be in the dispensaries that were legal.
Yes.
Our message could go out through the internet, through social media, all around the world.
It was almost like a life vest, right? Like that you guys didn't even see coming, right? Would you say, looking back on it, because you're not media guys, right?
No,
I mean, you are in fact today, right?
We are now.
But then like. The furthest thing from it, probably.
My degree is in business with a minor in journalism.
Okay.
But cannabis and cannabis marketing and advertising don't have anything to do with mainstream business and mainstream journalism.
Unfortunately not, yeah.
It's crazy to look back on that story and to just think of that, how that was almost just like a God deal for you guys, almost, right?
Well, yeah, the pivot to helping people
Yes.
put us on the map.
Right.
Right? So, I mean, that's the ethos we try to carry through. The more people you can help, the better your life's going to be.
Right.
And so, I wanted to touch on this. You guys brought up the like legacy market versus the recreational market. I think it's really interesting right now because I feel like there's some people in Nevada currently saying that the legacy market is thriving here, which I don't necessarily agree with. How is it in California for you guys? And like, what do you got? How do you guys feel about that?
I mean, the numbers in California are that the legacy market is 6 to 8 times larger than the legal market. The legal market does about $5 billion a year. So you can figure that one out.
Yeah.
As far as legacy goes, like we said before, we were legacy. We were operating. We got made illegal. We don't blame anybody for feeding their family. This was a situation in California where for 20 years people operated state legal, and within one day they became public enemy number one, illegal, and it's insane. So we are supportive of whatever people do with cannabis as long as they're doing it ethically. Right now, we're not against any of this quote unquote legacy that's these big grows with a bunch of dirty chemicals and people that may or may not want to actually be working those greenhouses. That stuff we're totally against. But the small farmer who's been feeding his family for 20 years, keep at it. You're not going.
And I also think it depends on where you're talking about, because California is kind of an outlier to that and a unique, where they did have a culture and a legacy market built up for 20, 30, 40 years on the supply side. Somewhere like Oklahoma was always demand side on the legacy side, but then when they became licensed, that became the hotbed for a lot of people to move to there for a very cheap, like he was saying, starting up a very cheap entity, and there not being a lot of regulation and restriction in place to conform that, and it being an outlet for products. So it really depends on where you're talking about. And California is kind of its own unique animal that a lot of other states have looked to form their own laws, own regulatory framework, and it's not an apples to apples comparison most times.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, the culture and cannabis brand is out in Oklahoma, and so it's like we understand that market very well. And it's while it's amazing, and JC will also say this, that it's amazing that literally anybody can get a license in Oklahoma. It's just unfortunate because then it becomes a try and find that diamond in the rough, and so it doesn't create the best economics for the good grower who might necessarily not have the best marketing or like the sales techniques. So I just think it's like, I wish there was like a media, like a common ground, right? Like something between Nevada and Oklahoma that just made sense, so that like people like ourselves and then like our brothers and sisters who have been like really negatively affected by the war on drugs can have an opportunity to like do business in cannabis.
That's exactly what I was going to say. But I use California as an example. I love Oklahoma's just, hey, $2,500, get a license, the cream rises to the top.
Right.
Unfortunately, you get people that are doing bad things and using bad chemicals and doing nefarious things. But like I said, it needs to be somewhere in between, like you said earlier.
And the biggest issue with Oklahoma is that they have a really bad governing body over it. While I don't want any more government regulation when it comes to my cannabis, I just wish they had like even a tiny bit more. Because like you can legit have an illegal grow in Oklahoma and be selling to licensed stores.
Well, the real problem is that none of these states have factored in just basic supply-demand economics whenever they started these policies out. I know that they're not going to be able to determine exactly what amount of consumption is, but they can ballpark that. They can come back and look at that later and go, oh, we undercut this by 50%. We need to open it up to more licensing. While I don't want to restrict people from their ability to get a license or their ability to grow a lot, you create these problems. Oklahoma created it by putting out more retails than California for a state with 1/10 the population.
Yeah, wild.
So I mean, at some point you're bottlenecking your supply chain and you're gumming up the works for everybody else, and then it's creating a problem that they have to fix.
Yeah.
The government's not stepping in and going, well, we were really wrong here, so we're going to fix it in this fashion.
Well, and that's what all of us in the cannabis industry know. If you're in this even remotely, you understand that the people writing the regulations don't have any concept of how it works.
We were talking to some regulators in Oklahoma, and they were like, I made a comment. I was like, well, why don't you just look to other markets, right, where it's kind of working, right, or where there's healthy commerce taking place? And he looked at me dead in the eye and he said, well, we want to do it like we want to do it in Oklahoma.
The 47 other states.
That makes no sense.
That is
right?
how you
It's
get
like,
good things like the Second Amendment protections
Yeah.
that they have for,
Yeah.
for cannabis users, but then that's also how you get bad things like New Jersey following behind on local control and half the state doesn't have access.
Yeah, which is nuts. I mean, like a lot of those East Coast states, when you're talking about policy, like have these like really crazy laws. Especially states like New Jersey, where it's like only really small areas of New Jersey has access to cannabis, where you have to drive an hour to 2 hours to go like buy pot.
Yeah, the local control, in my opinion, is one of the biggest mistakes that the cannabis industry has allowed regulators to put on us.
Yeah.
A good, for instance, is in the San Fernando. You wouldn't think that California would have any restrictions, right? You think, oh, California, every single county is going to approve it. City, they don't.
Yeah.
60% of the land mass in California, cannabis is still illegal. Most people don't know that.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, not the population, because most of those people are in, San Diego, LA, and San
or like
Francisco.
Anaheim, right? You can't have a dispensary.
Anaheim's
in Anaheim.
one. Orange County's horrible. There's only maybe
Newport.
2 or 3 places in Orange County. But a great example is Burbank. Burbank is right in the middle of the San Fernando Valley. It's cannabis culture like you wouldn't believe. For the last 20 years, like OG got famous coming from the San Fernando Valley in Hollywood, right? Burbank, even though their constituency voted above the 50% mark to allow Prop 64 and adult use, whoever was the president or the city council decided we don't want that in our city. And the reality of it is they're denying their constituents what they lawfully voted for. It's insane. That's what local control does everywhere.
Yeah.
One guy who likes to drink or owns a pharmacy as the president says no cannabis.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's to the point that you're actually having to fight on the state level to get access for deliveries to even be able to come into those cities and deliver. Because now it's a patient access. It's not customers. It's patients that don't have access to this. If you're somebody that's homebound and your city doesn't have a delivery option for you, they're denying you your medicine.
Yeah, I do want to quickly touch on this. I don't want to get off the tangent, like the delivery to storefront model. So as like markets start opening, what I've noticed about California, I think makes it stand apart, like in the biggest aspect, is that your delivery culture is insane, because it's kind of like Uber Eats essentially out there.
Well, and I think the pandemic had a big effect on that. Like they loosened the laws to allow for curbside pickup, to allow a lot more of the deliveries where you didn't have a delivery license. They were allowing people to do so, and patients and customers saw that it was a better way of doing things, and it was easier for the dispensaries, and it allowed them to serve a wider market as well.
I mean, the reality of it is California is so big on that because of the Compassionate Use Act. That was like part of getting medicine to patients.
Yeah.
They were bedridden or sick or couldn't get around, so we delivered it to them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's wild to us to watch the rest of the country go, oh, delivery, no, we can't do that. What do you mean? That's the whole point of cannabis legalization, was to get it to sick people.
100%.
Or at least we thought it was.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah.
Well, I think a lot of times they probably want to protect the retail space,
Yeah.
right?
Well, those retailers can do the delivery. I mean, it's almost the same. It's almost the same argument as no home grow because it's going to take away from my dispensary.
Yeah.
Right.
It's insane.
Yeah, 100%.
That amount might be 0.01% of your sales might go away to a home grower.
Yeah.
And what you might find is the home grower only is able to grow a few strains, so he's going to come to you to get the strains he's not able to grow.
Yeah.
So it's very closed-minded thinking.
Yeah, and so like Nevada, for example, it's like we do have delivery, but like the delivery is so like restricted because you have to be at the address that's on your license. And so like let's just say you're from out of state, you can't get delivery to your hotel or your Airbnb, so it makes it super difficult. So I just think it's interesting because I think as cannabis starts really getting deep into communities, delivery will be like the first thing that pops
and
up.
I didn't realize they had that address restriction because in California they actually utilize delivery at events for consumption.
Yes.
And you're allowed to have them deliver to the
Yeah.
event you're at, or they have the drivers right down the street. They're able to bring things to you and keep everything legal and compliant.
Well, and that's crazy too. In Vegas, you get 50 million visitors a year. They can't deliver one piece. They can't get 1 gram delivered.
Yeah,
And
no,
also,
that's
and they
insane.
can also do one delivery at a time, I believe, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Lord.
They can only do one delivery at a time. So like, they have to make that metric manifest. that metric manifest has to be delivered before they can come back and pick up the other one.
Wow.
So like in California, you could do like the ice cream trucking, right, where you can just load up a van. They get a call. They can like a dispatcher can make that metric manifest, and then they deliver it.
The restrictions in California are like a certain level of dollar amount that a driver can carry.
Got it.
But you're right; they can go from one delivery to the next.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and this is the cannabis industry, right? It's like the things that we want and need, right? We have to like participate in advocating and changing the laws and stuff like that. What do you think for you guys has been like the most fulfilling thing that you guys have, brought change to the communities that you're at? Does that make sense?
No, it totally does. We try to get involved with everything that makes sense for cannabis. For us, we see a lot of people that come in new to it and they don't necessarily understand the background to it. I mean, one of the things we fought for in California, this is just going to sound incredibly crazy. When Prop 64, the Adult Use Act, got passed, it gave no way for compassion donations. So that we had to pass another initiative called SB 34 that allowed retails to be able to donate product, and you still couldn't even donate it for free. You had to put it through the system on a penny.
Wow. Yeah.
So we had to reinstall compassion once the adult use took over. So I would say that was one of our biggest ones, because that gets cannabis to people that are sick that can't afford it. It gets cannabis to veterans.
Yeah.
It also then helps raise money for our cannabis prisoners. So I would say our two biggest things are compassion for people for cannabis, and then we also like to work a lot with people who are still doing time for cannabis, right? And as long as it's a non-violent cannabis offense, I don't care if you had 1 pound or 10,000 pounds. If you didn't hurt anybody, you do not deserve to be in jail for a plant.
Right. Truth.
Yeah. No, I love that. And you also do a lot of work with a lot of nonprofits. So like Veterans Cannabis Coalition, the Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance, Veterans Walk and Talk, and then Mission Green.
Yeah.
Can you touch on any of those?
We definitely can. I just kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit. I don't think we've actually spearheaded anything from the beginning. I think our largest value is we recognize the things that need to be amplified, and then we put a megaphone behind it. Like he was talking about with the work with prisoners, we've been doing that for close to a decade. When we moved out to California, we identified the people that were advocating and doing the boots on the ground work for that, and got behind them and try to use our social platform as it built to amplify their message out. Veterans has definitely been an area that for a better part of a decade we've been working with. Mission Green that you mentioned is Weldon Angelos, who was here in Utah?
He got charged in Utah.
For a very small amount, he got charged for 55 years in prison. Yeah. He actually got pardoned by Trump.
No, he got clemency by Obama.
Clemency by Obama, and then eventually pardoned by Trump during his administration. And he started up his own nonprofit going back to fight for clemency and pardoning for other life without parole, nonviolent cannabis offenders.
Yeah, I mean that is so wild to me, and it kind of brings up like what just happened recently with Joe Biden doing the pardon for simple marijuana possession. I just think it's so crazy to me that like literally there's multi-state operators that are making millions and millions of dollars selling the same product that these people were selling, and they had no like violent crimes against them. And I think obviously like a lot of people like that's like the debate that people try to bring up, but like people that have violent crimes and marijuana distribution, it's very little.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
Yeah.
A perfect example of that is a person named Luke Scarmazzo. He was operating a California state legal dispensary in Modesto. He's still in jail. He's done almost 20 years, and Weldon's been fighting to get him out. What happened with him is he was very vocal about it. He might have been a little bit too boisterous about owning a dispensary. So the local police got nasty with him. They actually tried to extort him, from what I understand. So he let the feds know he was being extorted, and then then they got rid of those law enforcement. When the new ones came in, they called the feds on him and then locked him up because what he was doing was federally illegal. So this poor guy's done almost 20 years in jail. And his kids are growing up, and he's in jail.
The city of Modesto is actively publicizing that they want to do cannatourism at this point.
I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. It's disgusting.
Is he in a state facility or a federal facility?
I think he's in Lompoc. He's in California in a federal facility.
And so like I did like after that whole Joe Biden pardoning, doing the simple pardon, I started doing a lot more research, and like what I realized is like while there is a lot of marijuana crimes on a federal level, it's really comes down to the state.
There's very few possession charges. The joke going around the inside of the industry is, hey, if you got caught with a joint in a federal park, you're now pardoned.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. We were actually here, it was Hall of Flowers last week that we were at in Santa Rosa when they announced that, and they announced it over the PA system. They hadn't even finished saying the announcement when I turned to Bill and went, they don't arrest anybody at the federal level for simple possession.
Yeah.
That's all state and local.
Yeah.
This is just pandering.
Yeah.
So while we like to see the progress of him even speaking on it, it was pretty much just
symbolic.
empty
He did the least amount he could to say that he pardoned cannabis.
100%. Yeah. I mean, like in 2017, we did a video on it. In 2017, like only 3% of all federal marijuana arrests were simple possession.
Yeah, they say that people are touting this 6,500. 6,500 people are being freed. No, that's 6,500 people that were arrested for federal possession since 1992.
Yeah.
That's 500 a year. Yeah. It's the joint in the federal park.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, literally. I mean, you got caught at Yellowstone, unfortunately.
Yeah, I got caught at Yellowstone. I got a misdemeanor, but now I'm pardoned.
Yeah.
And we still have people like Luke sitting in jail who was doing legal business with California, has been locked. I mean, honestly, I hope he sues the federal government for kidnapping.
I would
swear to God.
I would love that. I would love that.
Yeah.
Is there any other like from the advocacy standpoint that you guys are like pushing hard for right now?
Our main focus has always just been veterans and prisoners, and just general access. I mean, this plan is for the people. Right, I mean that's just the easiest way to put it. Like it's a steward of humanity, in my opinion. So it's for the people. So in any access we can get that reduces taxes and increases access to people who need it is what we jump behind.
So, but no, like specific, like, because you guys put out an article almost every day or a couple times
every day.
Yeah, at least every day, right? So like, and you guys do a wide variety of content. So, like, for example, I saw a couple days ago you posted about Nevada getting consumption lounges, but you also are posting about, like things that are happening in certain states that from a policy level. What do you think is the most important news that you guys are sharing?
What we've done is we've moved from the media originally started with what can we do in California to help our fellow cultivators, but the reality of it is we're from the East Coast, so we've just started taking on a national level. And what we want people to do is to be able to see how other places are moving and whether that's a positive or a negative, and use it as an example. So we've always just had the feeling that the more knowledge we get out, the better the consumers and the patients and the people in the industry can make decisions. And maybe we can turn this around to where we're honestly just being used as like a cash cow right now by politicians. And it's really disgusting. Like, why am I fixing the potholes that we didn't create with cannabis? I mean, I'm cool with the schools and the libraries and stuff, but just to put money into the general police fund from cannabis tax doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And then, so like, as far as the media side, you guys have obviously like gained your reputation through IG for the most part, but you also had the website too. But I remember, like you guys had like almost 120,000 followers when IG took down that account. Was that the first time they took down your guys' account? Oh no, it had been a bunch of times.
We literally started our website because in 2015 is when our deletions began starting.
Oh, okay.
So when we were at about only 20,000 followers in 2015.
And you would go through the appeals process, and then you get it back a couple weeks later.
My assumption is it because we had been getting reported and deleted for 7 years that we just got put so far down in the IG basement that we just didn't. In 6 months, the accounts are gone. So anybody out there listening, if your account got taken down, don't panic. You have 6 months. So what we did the first few times to get it back was we just let it go for a month or two, and then we just made a random apply to not be deleted anymore, and somebody saw it and was like, okay, and they turned us back on. We couldn't get that to happen the last time. So yeah, while it was sad, at the same time, that's why we had been building not only our Friday newsletter, but our website, because they can't take those from us. And we've noticed the censorship a long time ago.
So talk about that Friday newsletter too, because I was checking that out on your website. It's pretty cool.
Thank you. I'm gonna let you go.
I was just gonna say what that really did with all the deletions from the Instagram was validated that we had gone beyond just the social media sphere, that it had gone out to word of mouth being spread around by other people, because our page now is only, I think, around 26,000, but the impact we're having is actually even greater than that. And because I was thinking about giving that answer, I forget exactly what the question to go through.
The newsletter.
Yeah,
with the Friday Session newsletter, it's kind of the same thing. That spawned because we were aggregating and putting out content during the week, but it didn't have a collected space for people to go to, and we wanted it to be something that was very easy. We've always had the tagline to it, always dank, never spam, because we collected people's name and email address. They got our newsletter from us, and until very recently, they didn't get any other sponsored ads. They didn't get anything that we were trying to fluff out to them, sell to them, market to them. It was literally just news coming to you on Friday morning, one time a week to catch everything. And it's the same thing. It's kind of an encompassing of some funny stories, some funny stats. We normally make fun of a couple of the MSOs in there, a couple of their dumb moves, things like that. We put up the events we're going to be at so people know where they can find us, and other relevant events both in California and around the industry. And it's kind of spawned into, not quite as extensive, but kind of like a Kiplinger report on the business side of things, where the high-level C-suite people are really the ones paying attention to that. And we kind of know that from getting involved in the LinkedIn crowd, because that gives you insight into who's paying attention to your posts and where they come from and what company and what level they're at. So we recognize who's watching what we're doing.
Yeah, the biggest thing about the newsletter for us is it's not patience so much. I mean, there's a lot of patience. And people we came up with in LA, I mean, there's still people we talked to personally that met us 8 years ago because they were buying an eighth out of a turkey bag across the card table from us at a sesh. But what we found is that we have the MSO C-suite people are signed up for our newsletter, and they're watching it, and people that make decisions and purchasers. So we've realized in the last year or so that the 3 years we put into it before that has really built a solid following. It's not the biggest number that people would see on an email list, but it's completely solid.
That's awesome. No, I think any type of news for cannabis, when it's coming from a group like yourself, is so important to get out to the masses. So with the media aspect, you guys also have like a company that sells products. Like, where do you guys spend your time mostly? Because it's like, it seems like you guys are at literally every cannabis event across the country. You're somehow in Las Vegas right now. Like, how do you guys manage that?
I mean, it's become a juggling act. I'm not gonna lie. We're in this funny little spot where we're still a small family company, but if one of our irons in the fire pops off, we start hiring people. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that's the situation we're in right now. We spend more time on media right now. We've got our product in California kind of on cruise control. Mm-hmm. Other than the marketing part of it, we're in probably about 120 shops now in California. I think they have about a total of maybe a little bit over 1,000 with deliveries included. Mm-hmm. So we're in about 10% of the shops. We have a high THC and a high CBD RSO. So it's a product that we believe in, that we've been known for years. That was part of our MO before Prop 64 and adult use was, you needed RSO for somebody sick. Beard Bros probably has it. So hit them up or find out what shop they just made their most recent drop at within the LA area.
But before 2018, before the Prop 64, you guys had a wide variety of products.
We did.
Yeah, we talked about this a little before we came on air. We had probably 70 to 80 products on Weed Maps, anything from flower to pre-rolls to concentrates, edibles. We had a line called Cushy Cocoa, the dry powder mix with bubble hash as the medication to it. And they smacked at about 150 to 200 milligrams per serving, so they didn't really translate over into the California market. But we hope to at some point bring those back around, whether they're California or elsewhere. We do have some other medical side SKUs kind of spanning off the RSO that we have in the works that we're going to hopefully be Q1, Q2 of next year, hopefully rolling out in California.
Nice.
Are you guys using like the distribution groups in California, or do you guys do wholesale retail?
We use a distribution group. We are social equity applicants and recipients in Los Angeles, and our partner is Mammoth Distribution.
Got it.
So we got very, very blessed with that, because in California, they're in like probably, I would say, 75 to 90% of the shops.
Yeah.
So it made our job easier. And as a small company, we couldn't have done what they've been able to do for us.
Do you think using those distribution groups is a must for brands? Or
I was going to say, we were talking to Tina before we came in about how Nevada does not have that level at all. And that was something else that in the SB 420 you didn't have. And like, we were self-distributing every bit of our product out to the retail. They inserted that level into California system basically as the tax collector at the time. The excise tax that you had to collect from the cultivator and from the retail, the distribution was who was responsible for collecting that. And it forced a model where cultivators couldn't do their own sales to retail unless they were a micro business license. So it created another area that had to have another margin increased into it and compound that price that goes through to retail. Where here, not having that, it's kind of a dual-edged sword, because it puts a lot of onus on the brand to do a whole other aspect themselves, as opposed to having a distribution company come in with marketing and sales behind them, and that's what they're experts at. So it kind of goes both ways. At the start, it was kind of nice where you were the face going to the dispensaries, talking to it, but once you get beyond a couple dozen stores, it becomes something that having another arm or having a partner that you're able to deal with that, it's a much more advantageous relationship.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, out here we do it ourselves, which is pretty cool, but Nevada's pretty small, right? I don't know how many stores are here.
120.
So one, couple of guys that are.
And they're
really,
all concentrated
Yeah.
around the
Yeah,
Vegas
there's-
metro area.
there's really two
Or
cities.
the Reno metro
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple hustlers can, take it on. You know what I mean? But California, I was like, wow.
No, it's a
definitely
monster.
Well, but it also makes it a little bit more difficult for your purchasers because they're lining up to see how many brands.
Sure.
Whereas in our model,
Yeah.
a distribution could have just 70 brands.
Yeah.
And then people just pick from their list, whereas they don't have to see 70 people or pick from 70 lists.
Yeah.
And that,
There's advantages and disadvantages to both.
Yeah.
Well, and
because-
it's what you're seeing in California now is some people starting to develop just distribution and brand houses on a large scale to allow to bring in smaller brands that have some traction but haven't scaled or don't have the ability to scale themselves. That's the other advantageous thing for the small people to hopefully allow more of them to survive. Get in with a good partner that already has infrastructure in place that allows them to piggyback off of.
Got it. Yeah.
Are a lot of brands using your media side to run ads through? Like a lot of California brands?
We do. Honestly, we do at times try to stay away from brands because we are a brand
Of
ourselves. So we try to work maybe a little bit more with the ancillary product side to bring stuff in that maybe the brands that we know haven't seen ancillaries. Xylem out of Houston is a good example. They have this amazing cart filling and capping machine. It's one machine, and that's pretty unheard of. It used to be two machines, filling and capping. They can do like 10,000 carts with one person in an 8-hour shift.
Oh, damn.
Like, it's crazy. So we like that kind of stuff. The technology, the merging of business and technology with cannabis is interesting to us.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I was on your website and I saw that you guys do like banner ads and stuff, and obviously like that's a way for you guys to make revenue, which is important to keep the mission alive.
Absolutely.
JC and I, we try to do banner ads once in a while, but
Yeah.
We're trying.
We're early in the process.
we're early in the process. Exactly.
We didn't do it for the first 3 or 4 years of the website.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
really, since 2017 until late last year, it was self-funded by us. It was not something we looked to monetize, and it was kind of a little bit out of necessity, but a little bit out of seeing the opportunity that we went that route because we wanted it to stay as independent as it possibly can be. And no matter what model you go with, once you start having sponsors and advertisers, people just invariably start going, "Oh, is this becoming biased information now? Are we not hearing you guys' perspective? Or are we hearing their perspective that they want you to trumpet?" And we've tried as much as we possibly can to stay not neutral on that and come to it from a journalistic perspective.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, and that's you, like, keeping that type of integrity is tough, especially because like in cannabis, the people that have money are dispensaries and brands, right?
Yeah.
It's like those ancillary companies are hit or miss when it comes to cash flow,
It's
especially
like juggling
marketers.
authenticity and profits.
Yeah.
It's a line we've struggled, not struggled with walking, but it's been difficult to walk it.
Well, especially because most of our established entrenched network in California is the operators that have been around for a while, who people know who they are, they know their quality, they know their products. It's a lot of the new companies that are coming up that are looking for that awareness that we have to make sure to do our due diligence on so that we're not introducing bad actors and kind of vetting them and giving them credibility into the marketplace that they haven't necessarily earned.
And we tell anybody working with us, ahead of time, we're going to tell the truth. So there's no fluff. Like, you can certainly work with us, but we're going to tell the truth whether you like it or not. So it kind of puts out this little barrier around us that only good people even approach us to work with us.
Yeah.
So that's been nice.
Do you guys have any brands in California that you guys like work with a lot with, or like good homies with, friends with, that you want to shout out?
I mean, we're doing some work coming up with a company called Alive and Well, and they do live resin vape carts, and they pick out the best flowers to do it with. So it's not, they're not using the leftovers or anything like that. They really put a lot of work into it. We're working with them recently.
So that would be the main one. As Bill mentioned, we, without direct connections to people, we work with so many people within the industry. So we're always supporting. We're always out at other people's events, just participating. That's the biggest thing we can say to anybody in anywhere around the country that's looking to get involved in the cannabis industry, because it looks kind of daunting at this point. Is just get out and immerse yourself in your local community. You're gonna find something that you're passionate about, whether it's lobbying, whether it's products, whether it's retail, wholesale, operator, supply, whatever it is. If you get out and make yourself available, you add value to wherever it is you're at.
It's true.
I mean, that's a great value piece to go by, because I mean, it's almost like a crapshoot, right? But if you have that belief, you know what I mean, then you can follow it up with the action. And
No, it's 100%. We can tell people that's how it works. We still go to shows and meet people that come up to us with ideas that we've thought about or and just got busy, or we always network with people, and it's just been amazing for us.
I think it's been a strong suit for us too, is industry participation, doing events, being that kind of like centerpiece for the community as much as you can. It really does
Joining local groups like the Chamber of Cannabis.
Yeah,
Chamber of
and
Cannabis.
getting involved.
Shouts out.
Yeah, joining that group has been incredible. Honestly,
Yeah,
like we're connected here, and it just creates all kinds of opportunities. And you know what I mean, just sitting at home and dealing with the distribution group. Right?
Yeah, ain't gonna do it. You guys obviously go to a ton of events. Like, what's your guys' favorite event to go to from a cannabis perspective?
Well, we have an event tomorrow. So, all the events have a different purpose, quite honestly. The one thing we liked about Hall of Flowers originally is that it wasn't high times events. It wasn't the loudest booth that got the attention. They gave all the booths an equal footing, and it was people and products that made the difference. So we've always liked the Hall of Flowers model. Of course, we like the high times event. The big loud booths are fun, and all of our friends were back in the day when we could all enter.
Yeah.
Right? So everybody always wanted to get a high times trophy or an award. But it had its place. MJ Biz is interesting as well. There's a lot of ancillary. So for me, I think MJ Biz has become more of like the ancillary product. Like, I don't know too many people buying $5 million CO2 extraction machines, but there they are.
Yeah.
Right? So all of them have a different little feel. I mean, we've had ones like Chalice that used to be in California that got shut down because of Prop 64.
Yeah.
So they all have a different place, and they all have different attributes that we look for, quite honestly.
Being cultivators at heart, Emerald Cup always has had a special place in our
Shouts
heart.
out.
I always joke we got to California like just a little bit too late. The first year I went to Emerald Cup, I went actually as photographer for another media person. Coincidentally, the same woman who Sherry Sicard that does a lot of prisoner work. She also developed the recipes for our edibles. But I went as her photographer, and it was the first year they had it in Santa Rosa, not up in the Triangle.
Yeah.
So I always joke I kind of missed out on the true feel of it when it was a small event up there. But I was there for the first time they scaled up, and they did it at somewhere like Santa Rosa at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. But as cultivators, we always liked that one because that was the outdoor cultivators bringing their cream of the crop to show you at the end of it, and it always had that community type feel to it.
Yeah.
I would actually say the ones I'm most looking forward to are the ones that Bill and I haven't been to yet. We went back in May to Dougie that used to do the Chalice events in California, did Best of New York, and it was an event, 4 different nights, an event in a different borough each night around New York City. He just now at the end of the month did Best of New England up in the Boston area. So those types of community events that are in new locations in new states, getting in there and seeing the brands that are coming up and innovating with new things, getting in some of more of the high level networking ones like Trailblazers. What are the other ones we've seen that have popped up recently? Oh, Meadowlands in California is another good one.
Yeah.
That's put on by Meadow. Yeah. They're kind of more the retreat style with the high level people getting in and talking about the future of the industry. So ones that we haven't experienced are the ones I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, and our connection to Emerald Cup, first of all, we love Tim and Taylor. They've done an amazing job with that. But everybody thinks we're from NorCal. Even though we've lived in SoCal for 10 years, people see us and think we have a farm in NorCal. I'm assuming it's the beard, but we just get that all the time. Hey, how's your farm doing? Well, great. It's a warehouse, but it's doing great. So
That's funny. I love Emerald Cup. I actually went for the first time in 2017, and it was an experience. And that was my senior year of college. And after going to that event, I was like, yeah, I want to throw cannabis.
Emerald Cup. It's just a great event. Everybody's such good vibes.
Yeah, it's one of the best things about our industry are the events, right?
Yeah.
Like cannabis industry has crazy events, all kinds, right? Like the industry types, the community types. We got to get you guys to one of our events. We have one 11/17 over MJ Biz. I don't know if you guys are going to be here.
We'll be here for MJ
Yeah,
Biz.
so you guys
We've
get
been
together.
coming to MJ Biz since it was at the Rio.
Okay.
Shouts out.
Oh yeah. I was there, and honestly, we go to see what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, we've never had a booth. We usually come in as press, and we just like to see what the new innovations are.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think it's super important for especially like guys like you to be at all these events because like that's how you keep your pulse on the industry.
And it's free publicity.
Yeah, and
let's face it. We have a lot of people that come up and talk to us and want to know how we got started. So it's good for us too.
Yeah, well, it's a great way to just build a following. You know? Do you guys have any like great stories from like smoking with like any famous people at any of these events or like?
It's funny. We honestly never think about those things. Like when they happen, they're cool. But every time somebody asks me to remember one, I'll remember it.
Who's the most famous person that you smoked with that you think?
That's an interesting question. Gosh, again, I always draw blanks on this.
To me, I always need more context to it, because like we started out, it's in post production now. We filmed an 8-episode news show for Altered TV, and we had Ricky Williams come in as one of our interview guests for that.
Yeah.
We've known Ricky for a while. I did actually a macrodose mushroom ceremony in San Diego with him back at the beginning of the year. So like, there's a lot of people that, holy shit, you got to smoke. They would think that's great. Like, to me, getting 5, 6, 7 years ago at the San Francisco High Times, getting to smoke with, Dennis Perrone, other people that started and formed up Prop 215 and were the ones that actually advanced that. Like, that's to me, or we got to the woods at the opening for that and got to talk and smoke with Woody Harrelson. Being from the area I am, White Men Can't Jump, all of his movies from the 90s.
That's dope. Yeah.
And the fact that he's been an advocate for the hemp side since the 90s, like, that's how I view it. So it really, I guess it would depend on who people think are the most famous or the most important.
Who do you think you were most excited for smoking with? Like, Woody Harrelson's like massive. Like, that's insane.
Woody's good. God, I'm horrible with bringing these things up for celebrities.
As a sports fan, to me, it's been a lot of the athletes. Actually.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And athletes that had some type of a connection to beforehand. Eugene Monroe and Eben Britton are both guys that were Jaguars linemen. That when I was a member of their Champions Club, the season ticket holders group. So I met those guys when they came in as rookies, and then like re-met them a decade later and was like, hey, I remember meeting you guys at Alltel Stadium, and then they're in Cannabis, and it's meeting them at a whole different level. Like, that is really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and Tim with Emerald Cup. Sitting down with Tim to smoke a joint, talking to him is fantastic as well. So
yeah, just like the amount of knowledge that you can get from people. The Chamber actually brought Ricky last year, Ricky Williams to the thing, and like, I've been a insane Ricky Williams fan since I was like a child, when he played at Texas, when he was at Miami, even when he was with the Saints. And so getting to meet him was awesome. And I was like, called Tina. I was like, Tina, I don't care what has to happen. I need to get a picture with this guy. Yeah. And I ended up meeting him, and he's like such a nice guy. We got to smoke together. So it's just cool, how cannabis can connect people.
Yeah, I mean, we have connections to like Chavo from the brand Red 22 and the band. Then we ended up doing some work with Ivan Moody with Five Finger Death Punch. So we know these people, and like, they'll see us and say, hi Bill, hi Jeff, but when we get put on the spot, like, I can't think of it.
Obviously Be Real, we've run into and spoke with several times. Exhibits, another one. So those are really cool the first time they happen, but now we've seen those people enough.
Now you're friends.
Now it's just a normal occasion to see them and grab a quick sesh with them.
I have a picture of me and my son from like 6 years ago with Exhibit when he was launching his Laffy Taffy edible brand, which nobody even remembers. Our kind of heroes are people like Elliot from Catalyst, who's like screaming at people to give access to areas and literally putting his money where his mouth is and going out and canvassing neighborhoods himself to get people to sign measures that would allow delivery and retail storefronts in areas like we talked about that were local control and were banned. Yeah. So, we celebrity for us might have a different point than publicly celebrity.
But we do still have the people that we've been wanting to meet or wanting to see for a very long time. Actually, Unpacked offered one of the opportunities, Jorge Cervantes, who we read back in High Times when we were teenagers, and other publications. And finally getting a chance to see him at Unpacked and get a chance to sit and talk with him for a few minutes. So we still have those interactions where it's like, holy crap, we've been at events with you for 10 years and never been able to link with you. So.
Kyle Cushman's another one. He was a writer for High Times forever. Yes. I just saw him at an event, a brunch event for Frenchie Cannoli's movie premiere. Right? So, again, give me a little minute. We'll start thinking of these.
Yeah, no, seriously. Seriously, me and JC saw Frenchie,
at Champs, like
4 years ago.
He was always so kind, man. Every time he would see him, he was he would explain whatever you asked him, and he was the passion just oozed out of that man.
Yeah, he's fun to listen to.
Yeah,
too. His
the accent's great.
Yeah. Well, shit. I mean, we only have a couple minutes left here, but I definitely want to talk about why you guys are in Las Vegas. So you guys are here for the Chamber of Cannabis event. How'd that all come to play?
Well, I have been watching them on social media for a couple of years, and we want to amplify people that are trying to do things to better the industry, to better the connections, to better the networking. And I noticed them a couple of years ago working on local levels for things such as lounges and better regulation for the state as a whole. And I always just like that, and we want to amplify that. So over the years, we've just supported, and Tina's been asking me for a long time, and it never worked out. And I was like, yes, we can do it. Let's schedule it, please, because it's been a while. And we wanted to come out and talk, but we like to talk to groups like this that are trying to better the industry as a whole. So we're going to be the keynote speakers at their 2-year anniversary. That's tomorrow night. and I always get the name of the hotel wrong. The
Artisan. Shouts
Are you
out.
guys dressed
I kind of like artesian.
I said
though.
artisan.
It's a little more, and it feels a little exotic when you pull up underneath all the trees. So.
Are you guys dressing up tomorrow?
Yes, we are going to. It's funny. I joked about this. I said, when I said we were going to do this, I didn't know it was a costume ball. I'm a 50-year-old man. My kids are grown. I don't even have a costume, so we're gonna work something out.
Well, and it kind of limits the costume opportunities when this is already on your face permanently.
Yeah,
so we're going
true.
to figure something out today or tomorrow.
All right, cool.
I'm in the same boat with you guys, so it makes you feel any better.
No, I was like, literally, I turned the lights off for trick-or-treaters because I don't have any kids anymore.
Yours is pretty easy. You just change that to a white shirt and you're Mr. Clean.
Oh, damn, I didn't think about Mr.
I think we're gonna go with Popeye.
The other one was Popeye, and his wife is gonna be Olive. So I think
A little hair and a flannel, and you're the brawny guy, aren't you?
Yeah, that is true.
Oh, I like the brawny thing.
Yeah,
I actually have flannel in my closet.
But yeah, well, thank you guys so much for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it. Where can they find you on Instagram? Where can they find you online? Plug yourself.
Instagram is Beer Bros Farms. No underscores anymore, so it's just Beer Bros Farms with a PH. The main mode is our beerbrosfarms.com, which is our website. We house probably over 700 original articles on there now, plus where you can find our products in California. So there's a product finder on there. If anybody wants to sign up for our Friday Sesh, it's as simple as going to the website. There's a Friday Sesh sign up on a drop down. All we ask you for is your name and your email. And then every Friday you get a nice little overview of the week's cannabis events and happenings and news right in your mailbox, so your email box. So if you don't have time to look at stuff every day, you can take a look at it Saturday morning when you're getting up and check it out. Twitter is Beer Bros Farms, no underscores. Facebook, Beer Bros Farms. LinkedIn, we use our own names, Jeff Levers, Bill Levers, and we also have a page on LinkedIn.
Dope.
Nice.
Well, thank you guys so much for calling the podcast.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
I want to say one last thing. I just think I want to give you guys a compliment, right? Because as hard as the cannabis industry is and how like messed up it still is today, right? You guys are just a great example of not really, you guys don't complain about it, right? You guys take, you take these shots to the mouth, right? And instead of it really like getting you off the rail, you use those opportunities to really take your business to the next level. And I think it's a great opportunity and a great example of what great companies in this space do. So congratulations on everything that you guys have created.
Thank you very much. We still take all of that very humbly. We appreciate it. And we would like to be an example, right? If you're going to be out in the spotlight, you need to be a good example.
100%. Yeah. And lastly, my son, his name is Foster.
Okay.
Shout out Foster. And I spell it with a PH.
Okay, I love it.
And he's always like, Dad, why do I have a PH? You know what I mean? So it's like,
That's awesome.
Anyway, thanks for being
really
here, guys.
appreciate you having us on.
No, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. Well, great. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you guys next episode. Peace.